Yep, now you're recording, so you can pause it right now.
Okay.
Change your name on the Zoom meeting if you wish to speak during the public comment portion. To change your name, you'll click on the participants button at the top of the Zoom window. If you hover your mouse over your current name in the participants list on the right-hand side, you can then select rename. And once you've entered in your first and last name, you can then click OK. Please keep yourself muted at all times to avoid noise interference so all participants are able to hear the speaker. And we'll have some more instruction when we get to the public comments period. Moving along in our agenda to the Executive Director report. Wanted to let everyone know that Kavita Kale, who was our Enforcement Director, has left the agency for a new opportunity. Julie Kleitman has been promoted to the Enforcement Division Director. If you want to wave to everyone, Julie, welcome. Julie has been with the agency for a while now. She's a familiar face to many of you that interface with the Enforcement Division already. And I have the utmost faith that she'll do a great job continuing to fulfill the mission of the agency in her new role as our Enforcement Division Director. A couple other things at the agency level. We do continue to have a focus on outreach, education, and collaboration. We continue to promote and support work groups so that we can be informed of the perspectives of external stakeholders. I want to talk about a few of those efforts. We have established a scientific advisory work group that continues to meet regularly, that's comprised of industry participants, representatives from the agency, from colleges and universities in the state with cannabis degree programs, as well as our partners at the Department of Agriculture and Health and Human Services to focus on issues related to the science of this regulated market. We recently held a licensing work group to gather information about licensing processes, examine issues, both positive and negative, that came from the new administrative rules related to the licensing processes. That was very productive. We're also in the process of establishing a metric user work group to help keep us informed about the use of the statewide monitoring system, both directly and indirectly through third-party systems, so we can absorb that feedback in order to better understand how that system can be evaluated and achieve some efficiencies. We also continue to do outreach programs for the MRA's social equity program. That's obviously been greatly retooled during the time of the pandemic, but that group, our social equity representatives, continue to do a great job engaging with social equity participants and also working with other members of industry to support and promote that program. And within the last 2 months, as sort of a subset under the social equity heading, we've also created a racial equity advisory work group that I'm working with, as well as Michelle with our social equity program, to develop ideas to improve diversity and inclusion in the regulated marijuana industry within the state of Michigan. That group's met a couple of times now and formed some very productive subcommittees to help work through some initiating some policy ideas that can help promote diversity and inclusion within the industry and continue to position Michigan as a leader in all of these important areas with regard to the cannabis space. Also want to emphasize that our agency is continuing to be committed to transparency and information sharing. For those of you who don't know, we do publish regularly several pieces of information on our website. If you go to michigan.gov/MRA, down near the bottom of the page, you'll see a link to reports. We regularly publish licensing reports that have information about the decisions made by the licensing division, both in the pre-qualification as well as at the licensing stage of the process. So that information is posted regularly. We also publish monthly statistical reports that include a lot of good information related to net licensing processes, as well as information from the statewide monitoring system that's aggregated, and disciplinary information as well, along with an update on the registry card program also. All the information that would typically be included in annual legislative and budget boilerplate reports is also included on those monthly reports for anyone who's interested in seeing how things are trending. And additionally, now we've recently began to post agency metrics, performance metrics that we'd always tracked internally. And now we're using a tool that allows us to publish some of that data externally so we can be accountable for the processes that are handled by the agency. And that information is readily available there as well. So all that information is posted regularly, usually monthly, on the website. So I'd encourage you all to take a look at that if you have an interest in seeing statistics or metrics as to the agency's performance. Moving along now to the licensing report for the last quarter, providing some statistics on the licensing processes from during this fiscal year, so dating back to last October. On the medical facilities licensing side, we've received 1,467 applications and processed 1,495 applications. That's including step 1 applications, step 2, and renewal applications. So still receiving lots of applications and doing lots of work on the medical facilities licensing program. And for adult use licensing, obviously that program just opened last November, received 952 applications and processed 791 of those. That would be all step 1 and step 2 applications. We have not yet processed any renewals in that for the adult use licensing program. Want to underscore some important changes in the social equity program. I think we covered this a little bit at the last meeting and we put out some information, but want to keep everyone in the loop on that. So back on June 1st, we did expand the eligibility criteria for the social equity program, increase the number of disproportionately impacted communities identified by the program from 41 to 184, and also making it easier for individuals from those communities to qualify to participate in the program. Prior to the expansion, communities with marijuana-related convictions greater than the state median and with 30% or more of the population living below the federal poverty limit were identified as disproportionately impacted. On June 1st, we changed that second criteria so that those communities with at least 20% or more of the population living below the federal poverty limit now qualify. We've also made some changes for sort of individual criteria to allow people to qualify. So applicants are no longer required to live in a disproportionately impacted community to be eligible for the fee reductions or the related to marijuana-related convictions or having history as a caregiver. And applicants qualifying for a fee reduction based on residency in a disproportionately impacted community is now determined based on 5 cumulative years of residency in the community within the last 10 years instead of 5 consecutive years within the last 10 years. We also now allow for applicants and licensees to operate outside of a disproportionately impacted community once achieving licensure and still be eligible for the program. But if they do operate outside of one of those communities, the fee reductions for which they qualify will expire after the first 2 years of operation. So that should add some flexibility for individuals achieving licensure. And we also added a 40% fee reduction for any applicant who's been convicted of a marijuana-related felony. So under the program now, in terms of fee reductions, residency in a disproportionately impacted community for 5 cumulative years in the last 10 years is a 25% fee reduction. For marijuana-related convictions, there's a 25% fee reduction for a marijuana-related misdemeanor and 40% for having a marijuana-related felony. Please note that this does not include any convictions for distribution of a controlled substance to a minor. And then we still have a 10% fee reduction for registration as a primary caregiver under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act for at least 2 years between 2008 and 2017. Other actions taken by the licensing division on September 9th, we issued an advisory bulletin that provides applicants and licensees with guidance for developing their social equity plans. We are currently in the planning phase for an online social equity application as well, and we expect development of that to begin shortly. In terms of the social equity program, as of September 12th, we received 445 applications, 282 have been approved, 130 have been denied. We have issued 4 licenses to social equity participants. And in fiscal year 20, we've held 38 education and outreach sessions and 75 application assistance sessions. So those are more directly one-on-one with applicants under the social equity program. So we'll continue to evaluate the social equity program. We're really trying to work more now with licensees who have indicated that they want to be helpful through their individual social equity plans and helping to provide resources and connect them with the social equity community so that we can ensure everyone's getting the benefits of the program. Moving along to the enforcement division. Within the enforcement division, the scientific and legal section has established and successfully led several monthly meetings of the scientific advisory work group that I mentioned earlier. They are nearing the next rotation of active and scientifically minded industry representatives, and any interested individuals should reach out to their respective association to express an interest in being nominated to serve on that committee. So we do rotate those members through periodically so we get new perspectives. That section is also finishing up scheduled laboratory inspections, still being conducted virtually, and are going to continue to be held virtually until further notice. Also working on finalizing our end of year summary notifications for all the labs. Happy to say that our MRA inspectors have resumed on-site activities at marijuana businesses this week. It took a couple months of preparation in order to make the plans to return to the field safely during the pandemic. Once again, prepared to offer limited in-person support and guidance for applicants and licensed marijuana businesses. As the COVID situation continues to evolve, we will also continue to evaluate which visits should be done remotely in the interest of safety and efficiency for both the MRA and for licensed businesses. On August 25th, the operations support section sent out a metric user survey to all licensees on the email listserv. The results of the survey are being used to develop participants and criteria for that metric user work group. The work group will rely on participation from licensees to make recommendations that would allow metric to be more efficient and help licensees complete metric tasks consistently with fewer errors. So that's an exciting opportunity for those of you who work directly with the statewide monitoring system on a daily basis to be involved and help us ensure that the system is functioning as best as it can. On September 17th, the operations support section also disseminated a public recall of marijuana product. This was product transferred from the adult use market to the medical market, but the test results were passing in all categories, the adult use market, but the total yeast and mold results were higher than what's permitted in the medical market. This time, no adverse reactions have been reported to the agency regarding the recall product. Final quarter for the Michigan Medical Marijuana Operation and Oversight Grants, the final quarter for the financial summary reports is closed. All that money was to have been spent by September 15th. Final reports have been received by almost all participating counties. The section is going to continue working on the year-end report to be finalized by October 15th. And for those of you operating within the regulated industry, please bear in mind that the final phase out of caregiver product will close next week, on September 30th. That will be the last day that any licensed medical processors or medical growers are permitted to bring in product sourced directly from registered caregivers. We do see some increase in the production in the regulated markets. So I think the timing is good to move this industry forward and allow for reliance completely on the regulated market in terms of supply to meet that demand at the retail side. So those are the updates from the agency level. We can now open up the public comment portion of the meeting. For clarity and efficiency, we'll be using the raise your hand feature to conduct the public comment portion. If you'd like to speak, please click on the icon labeled participants at the bottom center of your screen. On the bottom right-hand side, click the button labeled raise hand. Then I will call on you and unmute so that you can if you're calling in on the phone and wish to speak, please unmute yourself using *6, and I will call on you using the last 4 digits of your phone number. We'll leave the public comment portion open for a bit as well, just to make sure everyone has an opportunity to address the agency. And first up, we have Vanessa.
Good morning. My name is Vanessa Anderson. I am a social equity applicant and a legacy Detroiter. In creating an equitable opportunity for legacy Detroiters and social equity applicants, there needs to be funding available that is earmarked for social equity applicants to build sustainable cannabis businesses. Otherwise, the program really is just a money grab for the state from applicants that have already been disproportionately impacted economically. Funding the social equity program and the social equity applicants in this program is essential. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next up, we have Tracy Martin.
Good morning. The state of Michigan, through the Marijuana Regulatory Agency, continues its drive to lessen the impact of the social equity program. The advisory bulletin published September 9, 2020, under the guise of a social equity plan, encourages partnering in business ventures with licensees who qualify for the MRA social equity program, etc. The proposed business venture effectively allows the state to avoid the responsibility of fully funding the social equity plan and establishing realistic provisions for the program. This lack of funding and programming further compromises the disproportionately impacted communities by exposing them to predatory alliances. This population has historically been exploited by pretentious investors, thereby never realizing the fruits of their labor. Michigan has the unique opportunity to be a leader in this industry and provide a social and develop a social equity program that positively changes the lives of generations in disproportionately impacted communities. I implore you to create a social equity program that benefits all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Tracy. I don't see any other hands raised or phones unmuted. Oh, we do have one. Mitzi Ruddick.
Good morning. How does the social equity approved applicant engage in these licensing meetings effectively when the decision to move forward in the legal cannabis business remains unclear and distorted? Social equity applicants 2 years in should be having conversations about compliance, metrics, inspections, enforcement. Instead, we're still at the social equity approval stage with no resources, no capital, and unclear rules. Looking at the carrot move further and further away. Please note, to encourage more well-resourced operators to help us furthers our disconnection to the process. Another person to hold our carrot stick. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi. Next up, we have just identified as Richard.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hear me? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, great. Yeah, I listened to the previous callers, participants rather, and what I'm getting, I think it kind of correlates with what I've been finding across the country with various social equity programs in other states. And it seems as though, from what I've researched, that most of these programs have fallen short from what the true purpose of it was. And it sounds to me like everyone is afraid that the same thing is going to happen here in Michigan. I would hate to see that happen. We're still waiting for one of the states to get it right, and we have the perfect opportunity right now to do that. I think it sounds to me, from what I'm hearing as well as what I've looked at, that there's a lot of politics involved, which impedes the social equity programs to actually fulfill their purpose. And we really have a great opportunity here to get it right this time. I'm just hoping that you'll take these comments to in an unbiased manner, and let's just deal with what is, and leave all of our personal or political stands aside. I think that even in the political game, we have to remodel how we do things. It has to be remodeled to a more humane, human model that deals with creating a truly even playing field. Because so far, up until this point, the playing field has been tilted, and somehow we have to make some type of concession to create an even playing field so that these types of issues where we have to create social equity plans, quote unquote, won't be necessary anymore, because we actually operate from a different model that includes everyone. So this is our opportunity right now. This is our moment. This is our chance to get it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Next up, we have Lamont Williams.
Greetings, my name is Lamont Williams. I'm a social equity applicant from Detroit, Michigan. And I would just like to speak on the meetings that have been held to discuss the impact of social equity, and work groups formed by the state have been bypassing Missy Rudder of Black Cannabis Access. She's on the front line and keenly identifies the needs of social equity applicants to be successful in the cannabis industry. And this has been a grave oversight by the state. And I would just like to ask that she be a part of all things held on social equity in Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you, Lamont. Next, we have Anna Gamulka.
Hello. Yes, I'm the I was the social equity program coordinator at Forefront Mission Ann Arbor, also known as Home of Medicine. And I wanted to just speak a little bit about more on the ground level as people who are retail associates in stores that are doing social equity work. And as we began unionizing to continue fighting some of the changes that are happening when local stores are bought out by these larger corporations with a seemingly social justice front, and a lot of employees of color then end up being not taken care of or supported in the same way that we have been expected to be. So as multiple of us were let go yesterday after announcing we were forming a union in order to better support ourselves, 3 of us were let go. Many people walked out, and it was really a telling moment in the industry because many businesses have applied and said that they would have a social equity program, but the follow through on that is very, very small. And I think the state has a large part to play in that. And I would like to encourage more ideas and options as far as how businesses can participate in helping not only social equity applicants, but also funding organizations and movements that are working to make the space more equitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Do we have anyone else that wishes to speak during public comment?
We can also remind the participants that if you'd like to submit written testimony, you can submit that to mra-legal@michigan.gov.
I think Ed Graveline, sorry if I mispronounced that. You can go ahead.
You're pretty darn close, Andrew. The user silent. Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment concerning drive-throughs. As you well know, you've allowed them during the coronavirus crisis. Wanted to see if you would consider allowing them even after that. It provides a very safe avenue for both patients and employees.
Thanks for the comments. Typically, we don't answer questions during public comment, but we'll make notes, and you can always submit direct questions to the agency go to our website. You can submit email questions that we can provide answers to, or contact the agency at 517-284-8599.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Ricky Bicknell.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ricky Bicknell. I am a graduate of the Ford School of Public Policy at the University of Michigan and a current employee at Forefront Mission in Ann Arbor, formerly known as Home of Medicine. Yesterday, we witnessed a series of events in retaliation to our coming together to form a union in order to collectively bargain for our rights, and promptly were greeted with hostility from the corporation, letting go our social equity manager, our community outreach manager, and our patient coordinating manager, all of whom have been with the company for several years and built serious relationships within the community. I was appalled to see this kind of union busting retaliation taking place across the board. And I hope that in this discussion for social equity, not only will we think about the ways that historic oppression and racism have kept people from participating in this industry, the ways that people who are nonviolent marijuana offenders are still sitting in jail, although they could be let out very easily and expunged with their records, and the fact that we have companies who are putting up a front for social equity, meanwhile are taking retaliatory actions against the folks who are allegedly supposed to be doing those jobs. We have more work to do, and I wish that we had more support from the state and the MRA in order to support collective bargaining rights for workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. Next up, we have Logan Stauber.
Yeah, hi, my name is Logan Stauber. I'm the owner of the Fire Station Provisioning Center in Marquette, Michigan, and also Negaunee. One of the suggestions I had for the MRA that might help bridge the gap between the communication issues is that we would like to address specific needs of individuals who are in areas that were disproportionately impacted. So for example, something like a Kickstarter campaign, if an individual who is struggling to get licensed or needed help with funding for licensing, that together with all of the other licensed facilities, that we could potentially pledge money to help that specific individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan. Richard, I see your hand up again. Did you mean to do that?
Yes, we did. I didn't know if I would be allowed to make a second comment, but if there's no one else that has their hand up, I would like to quickly make two quick comments. The last comment I thought was a step in the right direction. I really like his comment, but what I was originally raised my hand again for was the I don't know if they have anything in place. I haven't found it, where as part of social equity and assisting those who are having those difficulties due to their disproportionate impact would be things like contractors who help to build out these facilities, like HVAC people and architects and construction workers and people who actually are involved in the construction of a facility. If there were some type of state funding to assist them or to give them a incentive financially, or some type of aid in that respect as well, I thought would be a very good portion to add into into the social equity program, whereby these individuals could receive some type of additional funding to help make it easier for those who actually get their licensing through the social equity program, that it would help them to cut down that cost of for those, you know, contractors. Do you? I'm looking at you. It's almost like you're looking like, what is he talking about? I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay.
Sorry, if I look quizzical, it's more because I'm not the greatest with technology and just trying to manage.
I understand.
I'll take it
Okay.
We do have one caller who's unmuted. Last four digits of the phone number are 0842. You can go ahead. If you're on the phone and your phone number ends in 0842 and you want to speak, you can go ahead now. All right, perhaps not. I don't see any other hands up. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? We have a couple. Rebecca Collette, you can go ahead.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I'm the CEO of a Black women-owned cultivation brand in Detroit, and I want to speak on two things really quickly: caregivers and social equity. Currently, the cannabis grown by caregivers makes up over 60% of the marijuana in the marketplace. If we really believe that patients are first, there is going to be a huge impact on price for patients that really need medicine. Historically, caregiver product has been much cheaper because it isn't subject to state mandated regulatory fees and assessments and doesn't have the same overhead costs. Most of the wholesalers are vertically integrated and they're only supplying their own shops, especially during this increased demand over COVID. So there definitely is a huge concern about product availability once the MRA shuts down the caregiver market entirely at the end of the month. Secondly, regarding social equity, there's a miss for a certain demographic. The workshops given by the MRA, the resources given by the MRA, they're very elementary and don't service experienced social equity cannabis entrepreneurs. Really, we need access to funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Did you have your hand up again?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to circle back around on that that other gentleman's comment. You know, if I could reiterate more on that, is like when I think of what we're doing for our social equity plan, I like to think of, you know, what are the needs of others, but it's really hard to know, you know, what those people are feeling from over 600 miles away. So if we could have access to maybe some sort of wish list portal, or if people could, it could be something as simple as, how do I find a contractor? Or can someone help me, you know, like, let's say all of the other business owners I've met have architects. So if we, you know, came together and said, okay, there's a group down in this location that needs help with architecture, we could facilitate that. We could find a firm and then pledge a certain dollar value, and all of the other stores collectively could pledge to help those individuals, kind of like that gentleman was saying. So I just wanted to reiterate there kind of what I was thinking. Like I said, things big and small, you know, even if it was just something, how do I write a business plan? If somebody needed help writing a business plan, we could dedicate some time to help those individuals write a better plan. So thank you.
Thank you, Logan. I see Tanya Stapleton, you're unmuted. Did you want to speak during public comment?
Yes, thank you very much. I am a code consultant in Southeast Michigan, and my comment is related to the current plan review process with the Bureau of Fire Services. At present, they do not review the plans until the Part 2 application is submitted, but Laura does not allow us to apply until we have a C of O. So it's kind of counterproductive to do a plan review after a C of O is issued. And this has negatively affected two of my clients where plans were approved at a local level, built out, C of O issued, and then they had to go back in, add a staircase in one situation and tear out a wall in another. So I would respectfully request that this be looked at. I did try to submit plans early to BFS, and they said that they cannot review plans until Laura tells them that they can look at them. So I'd like to get that plan review process moved up earlier if possible.
Thank you, Tanya. Don't see any other hands raised. I still see the phone number 0842 unmuted if you wanted to speak.
Hey, Andrew, Mitzi has her hand raised.
I see. Thanks, Matt. Mitzi, you could go ahead. We'll try one more time with a phone number after you go.
Okay, thanks. I'm happy that Tanya, the caller before, she made that comment, because that speaks to social equity applicants, approved applicants can't even have that conversation. That is the fear of really moving forward, of not knowing those pieces. And those pieces can take out a social equity applicant who is already challenged financially in the process. So I just wanted to make a statement and piggyback off of the last caller, how challenging this process is and for a social equity applicant to move forward.
Thank you, Mitzi. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak during the public comment period? One more time just to make sure. Doesn't look like we have any hands raised or unmuting. So that being the case, I wanted to let everyone know that the next quarterly public meeting is at this time scheduled for December 10th at 9:30 a.m. in Cadillac Place, conference room L150. Cadillac Place is 3044 West Grand Boulevard in Detroit. Obviously, stay tuned to the agency website for announcements related to that meeting. Tentatively scheduled to be in person in Detroit, subject to obviously the evolution of the pandemic and decisions to be made in that context. With no other business before the agency, say this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
I'll go ahead and end the meeting. Thank you, Andrew.